Hello and welcome to the sew along for the hem length version of the Northlake tank. In this version, we're going to sew the pocket, we're going to do the hem at the bottom of the shirt, and we're also going to sew the hood on. So to begin, we're going to sew our pocket up. Okay, so this is the right side of my pocket. You can tell because I got my little Baymax applique on here. I'm going to fold the pocket right sides together. Now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew all the raw edges. I'm going to leave a little hole about 1.5 inch so I can turn my pocket right side out, but all these other edges I will sew. And I'll probably leave the opening right here. Okay, so I'm just going to sew my pocket. I'm going to, let's see, hold my tails as I start. Don't forget to back stitch. So with this sewn, I'm just going to clip my corners. And then turn it right side out. Now I'm going to give it a little press. I'm also going to press my shirt in half because it'll create a crease, and then I'm going to know where center line is. So opening, this is my front up, and then I can also, this will also help. I'm going to measure up my 1 inch hem. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure 2 inches up right there. I'll take my pocket, I'm going to fold it in half, which is kind of hard because of that applique. And I'm going to lay it on the center line right there, lining up with the bottom right there, okay? And I'm just going to make sure this is even. Okay, now I'm going to pin it in place. Now I'm going to sew my pocket from here to here, and then from this corner all the way down and around, and then up to this corner. Okay, so we're going to sew this pocket on. I'm going to sew it on with a straight stitch, starting at the top of the pocket. So now that the pocket's sewn on, we're going to do quite a bit of sewing just to get the things out of the way. So this is the front of my shirt. I'm going to lay the back of my shirt right sides together. I'm going to take it over to my serger and I'll serge the shoulder seams, both of them, and then the side seams. I'm also going to take my hood liner over. It's right sides together, both pieces, and also the curve. I'll do the same with my hood outer pieces. And then for my armband pieces, I'm going to fold them in half. And I'll sew down this short end right here. And if you would like, you can do this little trick where you fold it in half. And then you fold it in half one more time. And you sew down the super now short end. So there is no difference between this one and this one. You sew down that same side. It's just in this one you've only folded once. And in this one you folded twice. And this one actually gives you a less bulky seam if you're sewing with your serger. If you're sewing this with your sewing machine, the seam is the same as far as bulk goes, because for a straight stitch here you would just open that seam up when you fold it in half, so it's not going to be super bulky. Okay, so let's go over to the serger and we will sew all these pieces together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew my armbands. This is that special one where I folded it in half twice. So here's our two armbands, and they are sewn there at that short end, and I'm just going to show you what this looks like with that double fold. So I'm just separating it, and see, it already wants to fold over again, which it needs to, right? So I'm just going to line up these raw edges. It's hard because it's knit, and I'm going to drop an iron on it. I'm going to iron it so that the seam is right here, and that way my iron will create a crease at this other end, so it'll help me when I have to attach them to my to the tank top. In this one, you're just going to fold it wrong sides together, and we will press this also so that the seam is on one side, and then that mark, that fold that it's making, that's actually going to be where we line it up to our shoulder seam on our shirt. So this will line up to the side seam, and this crease, which is kind of hard to see, will line up to the shoulder seam. Put a pin in it to make it easier to see. And see, they both look exactly the same, but they were sewed two different ways. So in this next step, we're going to turn one of our hood pieces right side out, and it does not matter at this point in time which one you do. It doesn't matter, so just pick one. And then we're going to insert it into the other hood piece. So they're right sides together. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take it over to the serger and we're going to serge it. We're not going to just serge it like that because it's going to close up the hole, and when you wear it, you won't be able to see anything. So we will start at one end, and we will sew up and over and around to the other end, and that's it. We'll turn right side out and do a little top stitching. All right, so let's sew this hood. All right, here is our hood sewn. You have to turn it right side out. It looks weird. It's like, oh, so much going on. Let me move the shirt out of the way. Just turn it right side out. And it looks like this. And then I like to tuck my liner inside and press it like that. So getting these edges lined up. Okay, so this is ready to get top stitch. I'm going to use my cover stitch machine. You can do this with a sewing machine. To keep it from getting too wavy, make your straight stitch longer, and then stitch about at least a ½ inch away from this edge right here, and that'll help to prevent it from getting wavy. And then of course when you're done, give it another press too. That will also help if you've experienced some waviness. So now my hem of my shirt, I'm going to just fold it up that 1 inch, which I've already done on the front. So that it should remember where to go, and it does, kind of. I'll just flip that over, check this one. Looks pretty good. All right, let's cover stitch this hem and this hood. Okay, so here I am at my cover stitch machine. I'm using a Janome 900 CPX. I'll show you my settings, but it really depends on what fabric you're using, what your settings will be. Okay, so I'm going to start with my hood. I'm just going to get the scrap fabric going. Okay, so next we're going to do the armbands. So my armbands are already marked. The pin side will go up to my shoulder seam, and then the seam side will go down to the side seam. So I'm just going to put my armband over this shirt, right sides together, and pin it, clip it in those 2 spots. Make sure that when you pin your armband at your shoulder seam, that the shoulder seam is going towards the back. Okay, now let's take it over to the serger and we'll serge them on. Here are the armbands. When I do my armbands, I like to start at the seam. So this is the side seam. This is the seam of the armband. They are staggered. So if you sewed and you opened your armband seam up, it doesn't really matter. But if you serged, you have your seam going one way and then your other seam going the other way. It just makes it less bulky, easier to sew. So I'm going to sew in the round, which means I'm going to put my foot inside of the round. See, my seam went the other way. Oh well. And then I'm just going to straighten all of this out. And I'm just stretching to this midpoint here. Okay, I'm not worrying about what's going on over here. I'm just going to worry about one side at a time. Okay, the last step we're going to do is sew the hood on. This is looking really good. I'm very excited to see how this turns out. First step, we're going to fold this shirt in half. We're going to find center front and center back. Next, I'm going to take my hood and I'm going to flip it over. Okay, so this is the hole that gets sewn to this hole here. I'm going to open it up so that the liner is facing my table. And I'm going to lay the back at this seam right here. Clip it in place so that it stays. And then I'm going to take this leg and I'm going to wrap it around a 1/2 inch past this butterfly. If you top stitched a 1/2 inch away from the edge here, then you just have to go to where your stitch line is. And then clip it in place. And then repeat on this side, 1/2 inch past that. And clip, and then I'm just going to clip this too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to baste this crossover because I'm lazy and it just prevents me from missing it and having like a little piece of it pop out when I serge it. So I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, I'll baste it, and then I'll head to my serger and we will sew this all the way around. Okay, I'm just basting that little crossover piece in place because I'm lazy. And if I don't, then I'll probably end up not sewing over one of the legs. I'll have to re-sew it, and I'm just gonna save some time and baste it. Okay, we're gonna sew the hood on, and I'm sewing in the round, and I'm gonna start at that back center piece. So that's this clip right here. Get those pieces lined up the best I can. I'm just gonna get a couple stitches in, and then I'll readjust. So now I'm just worried about this one side. So from here to my front, I'm just going to straighten all these pieces out. And I'm going to make sure that this seam goes towards the back of my shirt. All right, everyone, that's it. We've done it. Hood is on. Give it a good press, put it on your person, and give yourself a pat on the back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll sew with you later. Bye.